We're back for another touchpoint. I'm here with Brannon, and yeah, there's been a lot just going on. I think as we've been in our David series, just looking at this man who was broken and yet beloved by God, as we all are.
Yes.
And you know, a thing I want to look at, because I think you look at even just the pace of David's life and forgetfulness, and I think even for us is this idea of rest, and some of it has to do with a season you have coming up here.
Yes.
But I think this rest is elusive, and I think we don't fully know how to handle this or how to engage it, and we can easily read scriptures, but then I think it's still like we get twisted and distorted by the fall, even in the church of rest. We confuse laziness or other things. So. Yeah, maybe just give us like some thoughts, unpack, if we could just dialogue on rest, which is good, and God gives it to us as a loving Father. So
we could easily spend the next 45 minutes here, so don't worry, those of you online, we're not going to be here for 45 minutes. I will say, you could buy either one of us a cup of coffee. Am I allowed to avail our services of that? If somebody watching online would want to buy us a cup of coffee and we would sit and chat for 45 minutes?
Yeah,
that'd be okay
I'd
with
buy
you?
you a coffee. So.
Oh, would you buy me a coffee?
Maybe.
Yes, I'll take that. So here's kind of the thing. I think I've got like two word pictures that are in my head when I think about rest. So one is scriptural. The other one is a little bit more maybe imaginative. So the scriptural one is a field. Okay, so we know that God's people in the Old Testament, He told them, this is, you can work the field for 6 years and you can produce things for 6 years. You can get these harvests, but then that seventh year, you need to take this thing off. You need to rest. Give the field a break. And so let's imagine ourselves into that scenario. And if you're looking at a field, and year after year it just produces this crop. It's just like, pick your crop, right? Corn, soybeans, pumpkins. I don't care. Your pumpkins. This yours would be pumpkin spice. So it's producing whatever crop it's supposed to produce for you. So year after year, like, man, this is great. And hopefully during those 6 years of production, you're kind of squirreling stuff away, knowing that there's a season of rest coming. But that seventh year where it doesn't produce, you don't plant a seed, you don't harvest, the field just sits there. It'd be really tempting to look at that field in that seventh year, like to drive by down the road and go, gosh, what a waste. What a wasted year. It should be producing, shouldn't it? That's what a field is for. Why do I have this field if not to produce the things that I think I need? Come on. It's a waste. It's just sitting there. And I think we think of rest that way, that it's a waste of time. And that's just horribly unscriptural. And so if you have to contextualize that into who we are as people, and I want you to react to this, and then I'm going to give you my second metaphor. So as people, we often are treated like machines who just need like an occasional maintenance, right? Like just go, and pump oil in or whatever, and make sure all the sprockets and gears are working, and you just keep going. And the truth is, we're not like machines at all. We are more like fields, and those fields need rest, intentional rest. And what that does is, not only is that good for us as people, but it helps in our relationships, because this is pushing the metaphor, but if I relate to another person like a field that never needs rest, then you're only as good to me as your latest crop.
Yeah.
You're only as good to me as the last thing you gave me. And you can translate that into ministry. So maybe I am projecting a little bit here where you go, man, you're only as good to me as the last sermon you preached or the last thing you did, or, if you're a father, you're only as good as me as the last paycheck. You're only as good to me as... Okay, that's a really mechanistic way of looking at people. We're not like machines. We are people. We're more like fields. So comment on that one. I love your thoughts on that one.
Yeah. Well, I think the beauty in that, I think of seeing every person as a person that's unique, right? A machine, usually if you have a machine, it's like, that's just one goal and I'm going to make all of these to mass produce this.
Oh, great.
Versus like someone who's fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, there's going to be different ways in which they need rest. And so I think what's hard in this, I've seen this, we think like we always want to go to like the extreme spectrum. And so there's like, I think some in the world out here that are like in this, your cup's empty and so you can't fill and so blah, blah, blah. And I think like the Christian social media world goes into this of like, my cup's empty and Jesus is enough and he's always going to fill me. And it's
what a bumper sticker, like.
But I don't think Jesus wants us to argue with our fellow image bearers. He wants us to run to him. And so I think what both of these is this cry of like, I'm tired and I need rest.
Yes.
But it's like, we don't have to prove our need for rest.
Great.
We just need to run to our Father.
So great.
And so I think there's difference, like you talk about things that bring you like rest and refill you, which are good, like going and standing in a river for hours. And I am
fly fishing, by the way. I'm not just standing in a river doing nothing.
Okay. But I think for me, that is not going to be life-giving. I'm going to be sitting there and like, that's not restful. But there's different ways
that's such a great insight.
that I find rest in it. And I think what even I'm learning like as a father myself is like each of my kids need something different and recharge in that time. And so I think even us as fellow image bearers, like even in the local church, that when we look at this, for some of us, and you even share this with the staff of like, we need time off or we need days off or different things and like trying to understand this. And I think that's where like the whole even social media posting of like, you don't have to post this other thing that's an opposite contrast of this.
That's really good.
It's like, just run to Jesus and as he speaks to you and as you find like, here's this space where I can just like enjoy his presence.
Yes.
So I think there's something about like when you are in the river with a vegetable, like you're just enjoying, right, the presence of God and his creation. And there's something like in that is life-giving for you. That's not life-giving for me. Does that not mean that there's not things in creation? Like, I would love to go out like backpacking, and for some people, like that's not restful.
I'll do that with you.
You know, and so like there are these like in betweens. There's other things where it's like, but please don't make me sit in the river and fish. Like that's not. But for you, it is, and I think even in that, the idea of rest, of us seeing like, okay, this is me focusing and giving back that time with my Creator, where there's not this expectation of me. And I think maybe even we don't even realize that of we want to dictate someone else's rest, that's not our role, right? That's the Father's role.
Oof. So, gosh, okay, yeah. I want to sit with that for a little bit. What I feel like you just told me is that I can write off as a professional expense my next fishing trip. That's not. Should we talk to Dave about that? We probably should.
No.
No. So here's the second picture, and I think this. If you're watching online, you hear this and you're going, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I know this is going to work? I think that's the question.
Yes.
Is Sabbath and rest is an act of faith, because it requires me to believe first that the Lord has prepared something for me. And so here's this word picture that for me, I have not been able to get away from for the last month anyway. So imagine like your best friend who loves you more than anybody else in the world invited you over for dinner, and they've prepared a dinner for you, okay? And it's just you and him. You just get to be with him. And, it's like 6 o'clock on a Sunday, let's say, And so at 5:45, you text him, and you go, hey, I'm running a little bit late. And he texts you back and says, yeah, okay, cool. 6 o'clock rolls around, you're like, hey, I'm still running late. I'll be there, I promise. He's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. At 6:05, like let's say he plates the food, and so there's your kitchen table or his kitchen table, and he's got a plate for him with like the steak and the rice and the veggies and a drink, and then he's got yours right here, and he's got it ready for you, And then 6:05, 6:10, 6:15, you text him like, hey, I'm not coming. I'm too busy. I got wrapped up. Like, let's do it next week. And he goes, hey, it's okay. All right, fine. Next week. So next week rolls around, like 5:45. Hey, I'm on my way. I'm running a little bit late. You see where this is going,
Yeah.
right? And so 6 o'clock rolls around. Hey, I'm still running late. And your friend texts you back and says, hey, it's okay. I've prepared something for you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not able to get there. So when you said, like, that's the Father's job to call us into rest or to determine what our rest is, that's what my brain goes to. Is like, I think we think of rest as like this optional add-on for the Christian life. Like, man, if I had margin, I'd do that. I think what we should see it as is like, no, we need a little bit of a correction there. Like, no, the Lord has prepared something for you, and He has something here. He's waiting for you, right? Like, out of His love for you, He wants to be with you. And what I do is I text Him, and you know, I'll be me. Like, no, I need to go produce. I need to go back. I need to go make something for you. I need to go make. I need to do something for whatever, you know. And for a pastor, you know, you go, well, I need to go preach. I need to go visit. I need to go do the thing. I need to go be the workhorse for the Lord. I need to have fruit coming out of this field, or else what good is the field? And the Father's sitting there going, you can do that sometimes, but I prepare things for you that I want you to enjoy because I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about our Lord is that He's gracious and He's kind. And so however many Sunday evenings at 6 o'clock I blow Him off, He's going to go, you know, Brandon, I still want to be with you. And I still want to spend time with you. And I'm still going to prepare a meal for you because I love you and you're my son, you know. And so I think if we thought about rest in that way, we wouldn't look at it as this optional add-on for the really spiritual among us who have their lives in order. We would view it like we're supposed to view it, which are sons of a father or daughters of a father. If you're watching, and like it is so incredibly important, you know, because it's in that moment, sitting at that table with my Father, that I find the fuel and the ability and I'm reminded of who I am to go back out and do the other things, you know, during those 6 years of harvest or 6 days of work. And pick a metaphor. They're all agrarian. They're all soft metaphors. Nothing is mechanistic. So we could riff on that for a while, but those are like two word pictures that I want to give you.
No, and I think that ties in, and like, I think it's that beautiful, you know, we talk about seeing every person and the rest the Father wants to give them. I think there is that faith that goes both ways of like, I think especially if you're watching this and maybe, right, you say, well, what about the responsibilities I have? Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we don't take rest, or we need like people to affirm that rest because it does take faith, and we don't like that. And so it's the leadership role of, well, what if I don't for this person? And there's some of this of like, do you believe that, right, even in some of that, like whatever you're providing, whatever you're doing, that Jesus is the ultimate provider, right? That He is the ultimate source of love, of hope, of truth. And so in some of that, taking a step back of saying that like this, right, if it's a discipleship relationship, whatever, or like church context, that this church is not your church, it's His church, and it's still going to go forward. And I think, I'm going
to grab it again real quick. So you tripped a wire in my head and I got to run it. So if you're around somebody who is seeking rest, okay, so let me contextualize this. If you're married and your spouse says, I'm tired and I need rest. If you're, you know, I'm not sure if parents and kids talk this way, but sometimes we do. If you're an employer and your employees or your team is tired and you know it, or a member of your team, the worst thing you could do, the absolute worst thing you could do is go, well, what's going to happen when you're not here? Because what that does is that further drives the narrative that you are the reason why this thing exists, which sounds complimentary in the moment. That's terrible. So like, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get personal. I'm definitely projecting here. You know, we're talking about sabbatical, and if you're watching this far in the video, if you made it this far, congratulations. So here's your little reward, I guess. You know, I had somebody. You know, I'm not going to be here for 12 weeks at the first quarter of next year, and I had somebody tell me, well, I guess I'm not going to be here for 12 weeks then. And I'm like, what does that mean? You know, and what they meant was like, oh, we really enjoy your preaching. And then I'm like, time out. Like, that's not a compliment. What that means is that, and somebody said that yesterday, I was like, gosh, what that means is I am a product and a commodity, and that's not okay. The best thing you could do is go, all right, I believe that the Lord is moving and the Lord is calling, and so this is not Brannon's church, this isn't Brummy's church, like your department at work is not your department at work. Like the Lord is sovereign and this is his place. And so we have to believe that. It's an act of faith, right? And so the best thing you could do, and it sounds like now we have to walk on eggshells, but the best thing you can do is be very, very careful how you compliment people who are seeking rest. Which sounds weird, but what that means, I think underneath that is encourage them for their obedience to the Lord. And then do whatever you can. Just say, hey, how can I help? How can I be a part of this season that you're moving into? And by and large, just so you know, if you're still watching, that's been most people personally for me. But I feel like I need to throw that out there because some of you are probably holding back and going, well, I don't want to ask because things are going to fall apart without me. And I go, well, even if they do, so what? You know, like obey the Lord.
No, that's good. That's beautiful. And I think it is. It's the... specifically in this role, and we're like it's an act of faith as well for those around of saying that right for us of letting others take rest and saying that right we trust that our lives, our hope is not built around them, right? It's around Jesus.
So good.
And that's not just like in a Christian bubble. It's if I'm following Jesus, that's in my workplace, in my home, in my school, wherever I am. But it's hard. And so we would love to, in all seriousness, have further conversations about this. And maybe if you're praying and discerning, you say, I just don't even know what this looks like. Because like we said, it does look different for every person. So you can reach out to us. You can send us a message. You can find email contact information in the show notes. And we look forward to continuing this conversation.